right, we're live. We're going to talk about freight reports, AI brokers, and market conditions. Stay tuned. Yes. Good morning. How are you? I am fine. Yes, I am talking to myself. Hold on. We are going to talk about freight market stuff. I'm sorry I haven't been live all week, but things have been pretty interesting. We want to give our condolences to Jeff. His mom passed away, so things have been kind of hectic here at the light trucking camp. And then yesterday we had an issue. And so this is where, let me see if I can get this. I moved my microphone the other day and it's been like kind of a pain. You ever watch a podcaster and always fiddling with the mic? They're like, they can't leave it alone. Like Timcast does that. It's kind of distracting. But anyways, I try not to be that guy. So yesterday, someone was trying to book freight with our MC number. And now they weren't the brightest people because they CC'd us in every email, or almost every email. And whenever there was an RMIS or a My Carrier packet or a highway verification, of course, I didn't do those. And it was like playing whack-a-mole for about a good hour. There was like I had a broker call me, hey, so-and-so is trying to book freight for you. Are they a legit person? I said, no. And so I thought, well, maybe it was just a fluke. And then all of a sudden, our email inbox was ate up with brokers from all around, loads from all around. And yeah, had I not been paying attention, that would have been a bad day for us. So I emailed the person that was being CC'd on everything and called them out, and then they emailed again with a different email, and the same thing. It was like playing whack-a-mole for about an hour, and then it stopped. And all the brokers that contacted me were instructed that only this email can book freight, that kind of thing. And so you got to watch yourselves. I mean, it's not hard for someone to go to the FMCSA site and say, hey, I'm with so and so, and use your MC number and try to book freight. So just kind of be aware that that's going on. So but anyways, other than that, things have been, so the dog, you want a dog update because that's part of my channel now, I guess. He had to have a cone put on him for his foot, but at the same time, yesterday he went in for the snip, so he's got to wear a cone for 5 more days, which if you have shins, they're going to be hit. If you have wall corners, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, there's a picture of all the marks on the cone. Like, those things are pretty durable. But so that I've been dealing with that this week. Extra attention to the dog. He's at the vet now, so I'm pretty much running solo right now. Welcome back. Need a cat update. The cats are very happy right now, only to be disappointed here in a little bit when I go get the dog. They're not quite getting along, but they're existing in the same room. So we're getting closer to coexistence. So let's see what else is going on. Freight dispatch has been through the roof. It's been crazy for me. This week was interesting because I had some major challenges, and I want to, man, I'm so tempted to call out a certain broker, but I don't want to be that guy. I booked a load, and let me say this: I've talked to multiple drivers every day, and I've talked to multiple carriers every day. And I pay attention to some of the Facebook groups like Rate Per Mile Masters, and things of that nature. And it seems like if I'm dealing with a few things, everybody else is dealing with the same thing, which is, in some ways, it's comforting because, okay, it's not just me. It's not just something that I'm doing, right? If I was the only person having this problem, the problem, right? And my internet signal's kind of crappy right now, but we'll get through it. But if everybody's having the similar problems or seeing the same thing, then it's not just me. And that's comforting, but it also kind of sucks in the way that, well, this is what we're dealing with now. This is what our lives are like now. And what I'm finding is that the shenanigans with the brokers are at full tilt. I'm talking loads that are posted as solo but should be team. I'm talking about oddball schedules. The majority of the loads I'm seeing are over 40,000. Like, they're cramming everything they can into these trailers to save on, the amount of loads. Oh, by the way, salute. We got our coffee. The cancellations, or you get there and the load, it's supposed to be, it shows a window of 1 to 8, and you get there at 6, and like, oh, you should have been here at 1, that kind of thing. That's through the roof. And then depending on what area, you're running into 3PL postings that the brokers don't actually have the load. Once you negotiate the rate, they got to go get the load. In other words, it's not in their pocket. You see that a lot with bricks, and what I've learned is you see that a lot with hay as well. And so I was trying to get a truck out of Elko, Nevada, which was a mistake to get there in the first place. But I'm at my wit's end when it comes to the west running. So those of you who are successful in the West, cheers to you, because I'm having trouble with it. I can admit my faults, right? And anyways, a particular broker had 20 postings of this one load. Not too bad on the deadhead. And it went into California, which it was going into a good freight market, but it was a reasonable rate. Now, the product was hay. Okay. We didn't really want to do it, but it was better than deadheading, 300 miles because of where we were at. And I called on the load. We negotiated a rate. All right, let us know. And they gave me a rate con. The shipper did not have an address, but the receiver did. Now, it's normal right now for like Ryan, Nolan, RXO to give you a rate con and others before they give you a rate con with no addresses. You sign that rate con, you follow their tracking prompts, and once you do that and someone talks to you, which is smart, which is good, then they'll give you the real rate con that has the real addresses and everything. TQL is notorious for that. TQL, I think they're the originators of that. And so it wasn't odd to me that there was no shipper address except for the city, but there was a receiver address, which I'm like, okay. So I signed the rate con, and they said, let us know when the driver is on the way. So we had 77 miles to go. So we let them know that we were on our way. No word, no nothing. There's a truck stop right there where the pickup was supposedly at. That should tell you how this ends. Now, meanwhile, I'm looking at the same 20 postings from one broker, but then 10 other postings from 10 different other brokers of the same load. All right. So I was nervous about this anyways, but it was literally the only option that we had besides deadheading. And so we get there to the truck stop in the city that we're supposed to be at. I get completely ghosted by this broker, 100%. Like I had 3 different numbers. I tried all of them. I texted 3 different numbers. I tried all of them. None of them were letting you leave a voicemail. And I even tried to go above heads and went to our factoring company's website and called the main phone number. Now, in hindsight, I should have used my Google number. It shows up differently because sometimes brokers will block your number. Now, I wasn't being that pushy, but we were there. We were ready to go. And if they didn't get their act together, we were going to be late on the delivery. So I was pressed for time here. And finally, after about 3 hours of this, I get a text. Hey, we should probably call this a loss because my shipper is not picking up the phone. I haven't been able to get hold of them all day. So I said, you really didn't have the load then, did you? Well, yeah, I haven't been able to get a hold of my customer every day. So they booked the load that they didn't even know they had or could get. And then he proceeded, oh, I'm taking a loss. Before I could say we're taking a loss, he's like, oh, we're taking a loss on this too, man. Trust me, I'm pissed off, blah, 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 blah. And so that particular broker is on my do not use ever list. And that's only a couple of them that actually have that. And it's those kind of shenanigans that, it seems to be a lot more of that out west, especially in and out of California. And getting people on the phone, getting people in to answer emails, it's just been a huge challenge. And they're posting loads that don't even exist. And so when I look at DAT numbers, when I look at 1, 2, 3 load board numbers, you have to take that with a grain of salt because a lot of those loads don't exist. So you might go in there, oh, there's 100 loads within a 50-mile radius. Great. I'll point my truck in that direction. But then when you get there, you realize that none of those loads actually exist. And so the numbers are skewed. And so a lot of times when I'm showing you guys volumes and when I'm showing you freight rates, you got to take that with a grain of salt. And if you ever looked at DAT's hot market map, not just the states, but the actual markets, you notice that it's kind of splotchy, right? So like Texas, for example, you might get more money coming out of Houston than you will Dallas. And there might be just a hot concentration inside Dallas, but that might be one broker posting the same load 85 times, skewing those numbers. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why didn't you book ahead before you book the load to that load? Well, that's where the emails and answering phone calls comes in. If I'm trying to work on part of a load, part of a direction, and B is not answering, but A is ready to go, you know what I mean? So it's only certain areas that I do that. Like if I'm going into Denver, I try to have a load coming out and try to book them at the same time, but that's been extremely difficult here lately. So yeah, and so when I'm looking at load volumes, I'm looking at numbers, but I'm looking at trends more than the actual number. I don't sit there and go like, oh, there's 5,000 loads coming out of a blah blah blah. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, let's take a look at that market and see what kind of postings those are. And so this particular broker burned me, and then of course ghosted me on the Tonu because we were there. We were all but there. And, and that's where, Matt's, I wish I could go to Matt's this year because, or, this coming up, because those are the people I try to talk to. Like, hey, you know what? These practices, think about if what about a guy that's dispatching 100 trucks or, a fleet manager that's dispatching, he's got access to 20 or 40 or 50 or 100 trucks. And you run your business like that. How do you get capacity? How do you get people to move your loads? Because the smart freight brokers understand that that's what moves freight. Stuff that's not posted on load boards, stuff that you can go to a carrier itself and say, hey, I've got 30 loads today. What can I do for you? Or the carriers that go, hey, I've got 20 trucks at my disposal. What can I do for you? And it's amazing to me that I understand that there's a lot of carriers and a lot of drivers that don't understand that. But the amount of brokers that don't understand that is amazing to me. And so what that does is that makes me more selective on what I'm choosing. Now, I will say this. I've had this conversation with several carrier owners. And they gripe when they see a driver use mainly one or two brokers, and they'll use the term, well, I just think that they're leaving money on the table. And what I tell these people is, you know what? These people, number one, are keeping your carrier safer because they're not calling every broker and their mother, exposing you to a lot more of the fraud that's out there. That's number one. Number two, you're not having to fill out 3,000 carrier packets. But number three, they're developing relationships that keep them moving. And here's the thing, the grass is greener BS. And there's a few people in this chat that have that problem. When you're looking for a load out of an area and you book something, stop looking out of that area. and move on to the next thing. Because if you're a driver that gives a lot of loads back, then you're ruining relationships. You're ruining reliability. And, and drivers complain about brokers doing that all the time. There's been a couple of loads that got canceled, but were still posted on the load board with the rate reduced. So either they didn't get their rate approved because they didn't actually have the load, or they were yelled at, and or they found a cheaper carrier. That I saw one time that there was a guy, a truck owner that or no, it was a broker who said he had forgotten to take the posting down. And so the guy calls, "Hey, I'm interested in this load." And the guy's like, "Well, I just covered it." "Well, what'd you cover it for? I'll do it for less." Now, a good broker is going to say, get bent, right? But there's a lot of brokers out there like, "Oh, really? How much less?" Next thing you know, the load canceled, to the original carrier, and no one's sticking to their word, right? And that's been frustrating this week. No one is sticking to their word this week. And with all the fraud going on, you would think that the brokers would want relationships. You would think that they would want to not burn the carrier. And also, in the other sense, you would think that you would want carriers that don't want to burn brokers. Right? I know it's a two-way street. Imagine CDN's probably shouting at me right now. I know it's a two-way street. But I have the perspective of both to a certain degree. And right now, the shenanigans are at full tilt. And depending on where you're running, you're either having, because I'm going to show you some market reports that shows that volumes are up, but just in certain areas. If you're running out west, it is a crap show. It's plain and simple. And so if you don't have some way into a broker that's got a lot of freight out there, the load boards are absolute trash running out west, even out of California, which has the highest volume. And the scams are out there in full tilt. So it's important to me to have relationships with brokers. So I'm not navigating through that. But even then, the brokers I have relationships with, the times are off. The times are either too tight or too much. A 1-day run that takes 4 days, or a 4-day run that needs to be done in 2 days. Like, there's no in between. And open windows are actually appointments, and you don't find out till you get there and you're a work-in. And then good luck getting detention. So, I mean, it's crazy right now. And it's been like this for the last 2 weeks, which is partially the reason why I have been live, because I've had empty trucks. And it's taken me all day to just get them booked. And trying to stay one step ahead is either being ruined by the broker or by the shipper or receiver because of lack of information. So it's but look, that's the nature of what I'm into, right? That's the nature of my job, and I enjoy my job. But there are some weeks where I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with all these bad communication issues? Now, I will say this. So yesterday, I called on a load. And this lovely woman's voice answered the phone. "Hello. Could I get your MC number before we begin?" I'm like, oh, this is AI. Now, it wasn't just an ordinary AI. They were using ums and uhs, and then I would hear the keyboard. Like, it made it sound like, "Hello, What's your MC number? And you tell AMC number. Okay. And then, oh, I have you right here. Da 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 da. Which load are you inquiring about? I'm interested in load blah 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 blah. Oh, did it, and then show, you hear the typing, and then, and I'm like, wow. They're going out of their way to make this a realistic experience. But see, it was a multiple stop load. So I knew that she couldn't handle all of it. Oh, man, I just called her she. I knew that the AI couldn't handle that. Now, there'll be a time where it might. I get a human on. Now we're doing a human interaction thing. We're negotiating, we're doing everything. But it was crazy how they had typing noises to make it sound like it's this chick on a headset speaking clear English. Da, 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 da. And one of our drivers was fooled by AI. He was having a conversation. He didn't realize it. And he was 5 minutes into the conversation, I think, before he realized it. Like, man, this chick is very short and very quick to answer me, but she sounds nice. And it was an AI. So we're almost to the point that AI is doing the negotiating, which you're already doing that online. Like, there are some brokers that you're going online with the website and you're doing the G chat, thing, not G chat, but their chat platform. And you're literally like, you can see the line of when a real person kicks in. Right. So if you are chatting with a bot saying, hey, I want this load for 2,000, and that's way above what they want to even move it for, you won't even get a response. You'll get a digital hang up. You'll get a digital, we're not even responding to that. And several brokers tell me that's what's going on. If your rate is within reason, or if you have questions that go beyond the 30,000 pounds, beverages, picking up at 8, if you got anything beyond that, then a real person kicks in. And you can almost tell by, the way the English is typed out. Suddenly there's no punctuation. Suddenly there's no capitalization. Suddenly there's run-on sentences. Give me a second here. And so, make sure it's not important. So anyways, just know that that's what we're dealing with. And you know what? I think I'm going to read the comments, and then I got to get off here. We're not going to be able to get into the freight market, but I just kind of wanted to vent a little bit about the AI and the fraud. So anyways, Gen Z, what's up? Gary Cook, good morning. SST, what's up? Number one super fan. I like the sound of that. Good deal. I like the sound of that too. TK, what's up? TKM, what's up? How's it going? Mrs. A's in the house. Gary Compton, how you doing? Condolences to Jeff. Prayers to Jeff. Yep. Need a cat update. I already gave that. What's the difference between brokers on flying figs? Letter F. So basically, not much has changed over the year and a half I've been out of the truck. No, there's a lot that's changed, Gary. If you ever want to have a conversation about it, I'll tell you the differences. There's a lot that's changed. It's just it's a different level, right? Welcome back. I stopped driving in November 2023. Best day ever. I had the rare chance of not meeting him not once, but twice. I think once at a receiver. CDN, what's up? Good morning. Cheap Freight, good morning, everyone. Cheap shippers are taking notes from the lumber mills and brick one load. Yes, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Sterling, good morning. Cascade, good morning. AI answered a call for me yesterday. Yep. Couldn't negotiate with it. Not yet, but we're there. Steve, you are bang on what games some brokers play. Your experience helps speed out the bad apples. Well, I hope so. I don't think really anybody cares, but thank you. Always ask if it is AI is required to inform you. Yes. The posted rate says Cascade was offered back 3 times. Yeah. That's the other thing. There's no negotiating. Or they go, well, we'll consider your rate, and then you never hear from them again, ever. Good morning, Sterling. How you doing? Greens from Orlando. Truck with T-Bone. What's up? So, let me text this person. Actually, I saw an email come through that might be a problem. All right. So, anyways, I would love to get into the market stuff, but I have to. We can show the 123 low board here real quick. Whoa, what happened here? Okay. I mean, it's the same story, really. 123 low board 48065 if you want to try out the code. Let's show the screen here. StreamYard has changed everything around, so bear with me here. Every time I get used to something, it changes. That's life, Steve. Yeah, whatever. Sucks. All right. Cheap Free Hauler says, wow, just untarped and unloaded in 33 minutes. Living this power only Conestoga. There you go. This is for Van. As you can see, Missouri is green, but Arkansas is yellow. Arkansas and Louisiana, well, Arkansas has been green here lately. So this is softening up this area right here, though. But I have managed to get a couple of good trucks out of Missouri with a couple of good loads. This is the crap show right here. This whole circle. One of these days I'll get it, right? One of these days I'll get it. But if you live out west, it's hard to get home every weekend or every other weekend and make some real cash. You know, that's it's difficult. We're trying, but it is difficult. So, anyways, all righty. Anyways, that's for Van. Let's throw in reefer. Now, reefer's actually picked up out west a little bit, but still, you're still dealing with a lot of soft states, which soften the green states here. This is all produce motivated, and then step deck because Cascade's in here, flatbed. Apply. Boom. Boom shakalaka. Yeah, same story. Washington's waking up, so maybe that means there's more port freight coming in the Pacific Northwest. So, but it's also real expensive to rent out here, but this is the time of year because no snow or anything you got to deal with. So, let's see, banner 48065 if you want to try out the 123 low board. Sorry we didn't get into the market conditions and all that. I will say that brake safety week for CVSA is scheduled for August 24th through the 30th. And just be aware that they're going to be concentrating on your brakes. And right now we're in the middle of this one, July 13th through 19th, with his singling out like aggressive and bad driving, which that must be an exhausting job. So, but anyways, All right. So that's it. Um, we'll try to go live next Wednesday, if not Tuesday. But here lately, things have been crazy. So, anyways, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns the screws. And we'll see you later. Peace.